Hey guys, Solomon here. Hope y'all are having a great day. Today's video, we are going to be covering a key chess middle game strategy, and that is really concerning when we need to act quickly and when we can kind of take our time, right? This is not a small issue. This is really, an area of chess that I think a ton of players skip over, and it can cost you a ton of games and win you a ton of games if you know how to do it correctly. Let's set up the following example, right? Just thinking about it mentally for a second. We are going to be going over a game I played recently, but first of all, let's just think of the following scenario, right? You have a position. It's very sharp, and your opponent has multiple ways that they can improve their position. Maybe your king's in trouble. Maybe it's not. But at the end of the day, there's tactics involved. Both sides have ways of improvement. And if you just kind of take your time, it could be seen as very passive chess, and your opponent could take advantage of it. The flip side is you have a position, in which case your opponent really can't do anything to improve their game, right? I think the biggest thing, the biggest reason I can think of for a position like this is you have space, right? Let's say your opponent has a cramped position, right? They're cramped. They don't have a lot of room. They don't have a lot of counterplay. Maybe it's closed. Maybe it's a closed position and they really don't have much they can do. Maybe there's a weakness and their pieces are kind of tied down to it. In that kind of scenario, if your opponent simply has no way of really improving their pieces and they're kind of just going back and forth, you are in zero rush of winning the game, right? I cannot stress that enough. I think, the player that comes to mind is Anatoly Karpov, right? He would get his opponents in positions where they're literally just moving the rook back and forth. They had nothing else they can do, and Karpov would very slowly but surely make small improvements, right? And again, it's not a race, right? You don't get, more points. You don't get more rating. You're not a better player if you win the game faster, right? In fact, I think a lot can be said for the slow burn approach. So we're going to get more into this, right? And obviously right now I'm just kind of talking to the camera. We are going to get more into this now. However, this is a game that I played recently against my guy, Matthew Shubin. We actually grew up playing together, and we both kind of stepped away from the game for a while, both for different reasons, but we've come back and it's kind of cool. We've reconnected and we're actually, just like I'm trying to hit National Master, he is as well. So, it'd be awesome if we could both hit it. But yeah, we've been, just reconnecting and playing in tournaments, trying to get back into things. And we here got paired up against one another. I am playing as white. He knows that I play the hippo, and he played the opening pretty well. So I play G3. Right, he feed and shadows his bishop as well. I was a little bit surprised by E5. I was expecting him to just, play some kind of position where the bishop would never let me feed and shadow. But okay, we see E5, and he kind of gets a, very nice position here, nice space, nice flexibility with the pawns in terms of what pawns want to advance. I play B3, feed and shadow the bishop, and here I play the move of H4. It's actually not very necessary here. I will say, when you see H5, if you play H4, it may seem like you're really weakening the square of G4, and in a sense you are, but at the same time, G5 is already weak, right? So that's something to think about. Just like G4 is a good square for a bishop to jump into, G5 is also going to be a target as well. All that said, though, against H5, I think the move of H3 is actually pretty good, and guess what? We don't have a weakness. Black does, right? I was a little bit worried about H4 and F5, but it turns out against G5, white's completely okay, right? This pawn might seem a little bit advanced, but it's extremely difficult for black to get to. In fact, the only way to defend it or really attack it for black without losing a piece on the spot is by playing knight back to its starting square, but then we play F4, right, defending it. And here we have moves like, knight D2 on the way. We could castle as well. And notice here, you can't take because we simply win your bishop on G7. So white, they're actually with a pretty solid game. However, here I play the move of H4. Here we have bishop G4 right off the bat. I play knight D2, A5 is played, and here I really didn't hesitate to play A3. In this case, I was not worried about A4 because I would just play B4, and guess what? There's no C pawn on the way. So in that case, I'm just going to get some nice space and a pawn on A4 to make a target. So okay, here my guy Matthew plays castle and kingshead. I play knight F3, queen D7, and I play knight H2. I am trying to get rid of this bishop. And we actually see this move of bishop H3, right? Looking to trade off. Now, I decide to take and then play the move knight g1, attacking the queen. In the game, Matthew drops the queen back, but let's look at this move of queen g2, right? What do we do here? Well, there's really only one move that doesn't just lose on the spot, have a completely lost game. And that is queen f3. Very weird, trippy position here. The queen defends the rook defends the knights, and the knights defend the queen. So everybody's kind of supporting everybody else. The queen is attacking, 4 different pieces at once, but they're all supporting one another. Black here has to trade. I would take back. And this is what I was planning for. I thought that black here maybe had a slight edge, but I knew that this was very playable with a lot of chess ahead. So after knight g1, instead Matthew goes with queen e6. I end up just kind of developing my knight. I am eyeing this g5 square potentially. We have d5. I continue with the move of queen d2, and we now have f6. So here, Matthew realizes that knight g5 at some point could be a solid square. Like here, if black played f5, that g5 square would become a hole. So we have f6, just trying to lock that down. I end up castling queenside. I did not want to castle kingside here, guys, with how far advanced my pawns were and kind of the lack of support, the lack of a presence that I had on that side of the board. So I castle queenside. Again, I'm not worried about a4. I'll just lock things up. We see the move of b5. Now, if you have a 3-on-3, right, in terms of pawns, black can break that position open, but a 2-on-2, it's very easy to defend, right? a4, b4, b4, a4, right? That's at least something that you can do at the very least. So it's going to be hard for black to break through here. I play king b1, just kind of tucking my king away. And here I play the move of d4. I'm trying to put as much pressure as I can on that e5 pawn. And this doesn't threaten anything, but it just adds a little bit of pressure. And here we have the move of e4 for Matthew. Now, I think in a position like this, it's important to not just look at what looks good, quote unquote, for a knight, right? What looks like a good square to be on. You should also look at where can the knight get to eventually, right? I thought about this move of knight h2, but I'm not a fan of it because where's this knight going to go next, right? Can't go to f3, can't go to g4. You can go to f1, but where are you going to go after that? Back to h2, right? This knight's stuck. If your queen moves, where are you going to go to d2? Where after that? You can't go to c4, so you're going to go back to f1. I mean, this is really the only future that I saw for this knight, right? Unless something broke open. I didn't want to play knight h2 and then be stuck with a miserable knight for the rest of the game. So instead, I play the move of knight e1. My idea here is that I want to bring this knight to f4 and this knight to c3, right? I could bring this knight to f4, but then where's this one going to go, right? So my plan here is to really bring this knight eventually to f4 and bring this knight to c3 to start defending and make a presence on the queen side. Now here we have from Matthew the move of knight d8. I mean, it's interesting. Black here looking to, potentially support some kind of c5 push. I play knight e2. We have f5. I play knight g2. As the plan, I just keep improving my knights here. We have knight b7 and queen e2. And I think here's where the game started to turn. Up to this point, Matthew has had a slight advantage pretty much the whole way through. What I would ask here is, does white have anything that they can do to improve the position? Look at this position for white and ask yourself, how could white make attacking chances? How could white improve their pieces? How could white put the pressure on black? I couldn't see anything for white, and neither could Matthew when we talked about the game afterwards. Apparently the computer likes f3. At least as an idea, I did not at all. I just thought that, what are we going to get out of that? If anything, black will take. We'll have 2 backwards pawns. E4 and G4 are going to be extremely weak. So I still don't think that f3 is a very practical move. I just don't like it at all. I don't think that helps us at all. That's pretty much all I see. We could try to play something like a4 at some point, but it's not going to work well. So what I would say, if you're black here, right, if we flip the board, there's really nothing white can do, right? There's nothing white can do here to improve their position. So this is one of those instances where you can take all the time in the world, right? Even if you're making tiny improvements, 1% improvements, 10 moves later, you're going to have a better position, right? Here, Matthew plays the move of b4, and that actually gave me some counterattacking play. right? With knight a4. Before that, knight a4 is just not an option. What I would say here is black should think about a move like a4. Right now, some of you may be going like, wait, doesn't this just strike anyways? Well, it's different, right? When you play b4, a4 becomes available. But when you play a4, there's not really much white can do, right? You know, notice here, right? Let's look at it from the white side, because in this game I'm playing white. If we take on e4, black just takes back. They're going to have an open b file right against our king, and the c4 score is going to be weak. And if b4, if we lock it down, guess what? c4 is going to be weak, right? Again, black here is just making tiny improvements, but eventually that can add up into a significant edge. You know, rook c1 here, black could even play king h7. There's literally nothing white can do. So king h7, sure, just defend the pawn, get an extra defender, check that king. That's totally fine, right? That's totally fine. Again, if you're in a position where your opponent has play and it's open, right, and there's pieces flying all over the place, yes, you have to play aggressively. You have to find a way to go for the win on the spot, or at least, you know, quickly improve your pieces. If you're in a position like this, you can just make tiny little improvements. Tiny improvement here, tiny improvement there. Add it up, add it up, add it up, and eventually something might fall through, right? But going back to queen e2, here we have the move of b4, okay? And yeah, when I saw b4, I played knight a4 pretty quickly. Here, all of a sudden I'm threatening to fork 2 rooks, right? We have bishop, you know, bishop actually taking on a3, and now I have an active bishop, an active knight, so I'm starting to feel good about this position. Matthew here plays c5, and I am able to play queen b5, and after knight d6, notice I was threatening the knight, by the way, I have this move of queen d7, okay? Even here, if you defend the knight, I'm also looking at this queen d7 idea, but knight d6 is played, and Matthew says that he missed the queen d7 move. This is actually the only move that gives white an advantage. Anything else, and black still has a pretty good edge. But queen d7 here, notice what's happening. We have a few things going on. First off, I mean, we have 3 attackers on c5, 3 of them, right? And if you move it, this knight on d6 is going to be attacked by both our bishop and our queen, right? We're also looking to fork both the rooks, and on top of that, we're looking to throw in a check. Our king here is the one that's in a little bit of trouble, right? We have a semi-open file, a diagonal here. Trading down is great for us, right? This is going to be a better endgame for white. So here we have the move of king f7. By the way, a move like c takes d4, again, we're just going to take on d6, right? If you take, we'll just trade back, and we're just up a piece for a pawn there. If you play d3, going for a mate, we're gonna take, and you can go for a little check, but we're just going to play king a2. Notice we're not going here or here, because then there's multiple ways that black could check us while capturing pieces. Instead, we're just going to play king a2. Here, if you decide to take the queen on f6, we have a move like rook to d2, and we're just going to end up picking off that pawn on c2. We're going to be big chilling. And if you end up, you know, taking on d1, making a queen out of it, we're not going to take the queen right away, because we lose our queen. What do? Get our queen safe first, then take the queen, right? So in that case, white is totally fine. We have the move king f7, and here I play knight takes d5. Notice the knight is pinned. Queen e6. I trade off. I play knight b6 here, and it's at this point that I stopped taking notation. We were getting low on the clock, and yeah, according to USDF rules, if you or your opponent are under 5 minutes on the clock, you no longer need to take notation. So I did not here. You know, I do as much as I can, because I want to post as much of the game as I can on the channel. But you know, this is a high pressure game, and I wanted to play the best I could and have the most time that I could. So yeah, but I mean, all that to say, white's just winning here. White's just winning. We're already up a pawn, and or you know, 1 point material, and yeah, we have a fork. You know, a direct kind of line of fire from the bishop to the king. 2 attackers on this pawn. I mean, black here is just in trouble. So, all that to say, the main takeaway that I have for you guys, and again, I cannot stress this enough. I see this all the time, right? This is something I stress with my students. This is something I tell people when I'm, you know, trying to share with them how they can have better performances. Guys, it's not all about the flashy win. It's not all about how can I win this game right now. What is Stockfish wanting me to play right now? Why would I go into a sharp variation? right? If I'm up material, if I have space, if I have a huge edge, why would I complicate things and strike too early as opposed to just kind of playing safe, improving my position, right? I'm not just saying to literally move your rook back and forth forever. You know, you'd probably get a three-fold repetition at that point. I'm saying make moves that improve your position slowly but surely, right? And then you can strike. But until you have everything as well as you could possibly put it, there's no rush, right? Going back to the game, queen d2, a lot of stuff happened here, right? But in a position like this, as we see, there's just not much white can play. There's not much white can do. I mean, f3 is really the only idea. I was not fond of it. None of these other pawn breaks are going to work. Everything else is locked up. Black is the one with all of the play here. Why not prep the position a little bit? Why not put a rook on b8? Why not put a knight on d6? Why not play a4? Just keep slowly adding the pressure and see what happens. Okay, so again, moral of the story, right? Sometimes you're in a position, where you got to play crazy, you got to complicate, right? That could be if you're cramped, right? That's what you want to do. If you're down material, if you're getting attacked, that kind of thing. But if you're in a position where you're on the other side of it and it's closed and you have space and your opponent's pieces are just shuffling back and forth and you have ways to improve your position very slowly but surely, there's nothing stopping you. Let me know down below what you think of this idea. Thanks for watching today's video. If you haven't already, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to this channel, as well as hit that notification bell if you enjoyed it so that you don't miss out on anything that we got dropping soon. On top of that, I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of August in 2023. A big shout out to y'all, by the way. If you're interested in joining the Patreon community, we have some added benefits, including exclusive PGNs for every single new Chess Giant video that comes out. And on top of that, we have a once-a-month session, in which case I go over patrons' personal games. These are just a couple of the benefits that we have recently added, and we're looking to add more. I'll see y'all in the next one.